Let's freaking go. It is Power Hour SEC. It is a glorious day to be an SEC fan because we have got the 2024 schedule to talk about. And I'm looking at you right now. Okay, I don't care where you are, what SEC team you cheer for. If you're just a fan of college football in general, I want you to comment down below or in the live chat right now. Which SEC team just got absolutely demolished by the new schedule that was released not too long ago? Okay, so what we're going to do is show you all the teams. Okay, it's going to be a lot of text, it's going to be a lot of uh uh I will say a bunch of mumbo jumbo, but this is what it all comes down to, right? Your schedule is who you are as a team, right? So I want you to take a look at all of these schedules right here. Okay. I think just taking all of this in right now, I feel the three teams that really got the short end of the stick: Arkansas, Auburn, and Georgia. Now, there are a few others I think that caught breaks with their SEC slate. These games do not include some of the brutal non conference games for, let's say, a school like Florida. They play an absolutely brutal non conference in 2025. But let me know what you guys think in the chat right now. I think Arkansas got a raw deal here with what they have coming up. So their home slate: LSU, Ole Miss, Texas, Tennessee. That's hard. That's absolutely hard. I don't see a guaranteed SEC win for Arkansas there. And you take a look at the schools that they get in the East. The worst recruiter on their schedule is their rivalry game versus Missouri, which will happen the last week of the season, as their road games are Auburn, Mississippi State, and Texas A&M. So they do get a semi-favorable road schedule, but I think Arkansas is in a brutal spot with what they have. We get on over to Auburn, and once again, there's just if I'm an Auburn Tiger fan right now, I am honestly contemplating playing Georgia every season. As you can see, Alabama and Georgia, both of these games on the road for Auburn. Anytime you get Alabama and Georgia on the road, I know playing both of them in a season is not anything new for Auburn fans. It's something that they do every year. And yes, you do get a home game versus Vanderbilt. You do get a home game versus Arkansas. But anytime you have Alabama and Georgia on the road, you got to really rethink having these two teams being on your schedule every year as something. If, let's just say, the 8-game schedule remains the same moving forward, I just don't think that that's good. I just don't think that that's good for Auburn at all. Now, I will say that Auburn does get a very fortunate schedule when it comes to the non-Alabama and Georgia schools. So, um, none of these teams, Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, or Missouri, are guaranteed to be absolutely really good teams. Now, then get to Georgia's schedule. I think Georgia really caught a really bad schedule here. But I don't think anyone is going to have any sympathy because Georgia's schedule is relatively easy in 2023. You see this: Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Alabama, Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Texas. Obviously, the schools in white are home teams. The school in non-white are the road teams. As you can see right here, Alabama and Texas on the road, that is tough. Ole Miss is kind of a tricky road game as well, as that is a long way to travel. But you only get 3 true home games here with Auburn, Florida, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. So the home slate actually sets up semi nicely, but this is a tough draw for Georgia. Now, I wish this graphic included the non-conference teams, but obviously we're just focusing on the SEC draws up to this point. And I think, as quite a few of you are over from the SEC side of it, what's up? We got some Arkansas fans coming in here. It's good to see no Bama or Georgia on Arkansas' schedule. Um, that's obviously a win as well. So maybe I'm overreacting to Arkansas's schedule difficulty. Maybe this is a major victory. Maybe they didn't get screwed. The more I think about it. Uh, so yeah, actually, I'm gonna change the title of this video. Now that I think, I don't know why I thought that Alabama. I thought I saw Alabama on here, but I guess I got confused with Auburn. You have completely changed my mind on this. So I guess Arkansas gets a good draw. But Rick obviously disagrees. The more I think about it, though, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. This is a true Arkansas fan sharing his thoughts right here. It's good to see no Bama or Georgia. I don't know. Let's get to these bottom schools. I'm going to think about this a little bit. I'm having a complete change of heart here on the Arkansas schedule. Um, Now, this is going to sound like a broken record. Okay. This is going to sound like a broken record for people that have been following me for I do think Auburn got the worst of it, but I do think outside of Alabama, Georgia, it's semi favorable. Okay. I'm gonna go on another Kentucky rant. I know you guys might be tired of me sharing this Kentucky rant, but I'm sorry. It's every year. It's every year with this team. They get the softest schedules. They get the absolute softest schedules. Okay, so they get no Alabama, they get no LSU. They do get Georgia, but they play them every year, right? And you are getting Georgia. Once again, the teams in white are at home. The teams down here are on the road. Now you take a look at the road teams that Kentucky have to play. Florida, I don't think Florida's going to be good in 2023. I think 2024 might set up nicely for them, but I don't know. I don't think Florida's going to be that great in 2024. You get Ole Miss in 2024. Tennessee, Texas. I think Tennessee's going to be pretty good from here on out. I don't love what Texas is doing under Sark, but Kentucky gets Vanderbilt at home. Kentucky gets South Carolina at home. And Kentucky gets Auburn at home. Three of the more winnable games you could have possibly asked for. So you get only one difficult team at home. And remember, Kentucky plays annually the softest non-conference schedule in the SEC. It's not even close. I don't know how Kentucky keeps getting away from this. The Aaron Paul meme um, from Breaking Bad. So I think Kentucky's a big winner. But they are every year because they don't ever play anybody. They don't. Now, we're going to get to the bottom here. Once again, if you guys have a team or question you want to talk about, we will happily do it. Let's go to Rick's question. Will Arch Manning be the starter for Texas in 2024? I'm going to go with no. I think Malik Murphy is going to be the guy after Quinn Ewers. And I do have a bold opinion that's not quite shared too much publicly here. I don't think Quinn Ewers is that good. I think Malik Murphy is going to win this job eventually at Texas. Um, but that's not here nor there. And I'm going to be honest. When Malik Murphy came out, I wasn't the biggest fan of his high school tape, but it looks like he can play. But we'll see. Now, I think Mississippi State is a low key winner in all of this, right? The away schedule is brutal, but if I am one of the lower half teams in the SEC, okay. Once again, we don't have these non-conference schedules up, and we also don't have the actual dates of these games set just yet. But if I am Mississippi State, if or if I'm just a team like Missouri, a team like Arkansas, if I'm like any of these teams, um, I want my softer teams to be at home, right? Because it is easier to win those games at home than it is on the road. So, for instance, if I am, let's say, Missouri here, Missouri doesn't get Georgia, so that's a major win for them. But they do have to travel to Alabama. If I'm Missouri, I would rather travel to Alabama than them come to your house because you're going to lose to them anyway. You might as well lose to them on the road. I think Missouri is a huge winner in the schedule. They get Arkansas, they get Auburn, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt. I think right here it's the softest home slate out of any of the teams up to this point. Alabama, Mississippi State, South Carolina, Texas A&M. Missouri gets a very nice draw here. Um, I think Oklahoma gets it a little rough here. You got to go to LSU your first year. You got to go. I mean, these other road games aren't too bad, but Oklahoma, Tennessee, Texas, and Texas is a neutral site, so you only get 3 home conference games. It's going to be tough. It's going to be really, really, really tough. Um, South Carolina, I think this isn't the worst right here. LSU, Ole Miss, Missouri, A&M, Alabama. I don't think that's too bad. Um, but yeah, let's see. Tennessee, Alabama, Florida, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Arkansas, Georgia, Oklahoma, and Vanderbilt. Um, I think Tennessee actually gets it pretty good here, right? Alabama is all you're always going to play your best in that game. It's always going to be the game you devote the most resources to, especially if you get a bye week before this Alabama game. It sets things up really nicely for you. You also get a favorable road schedule outside of this Georgia game. So uh, I'm not gonna lie, Tennessee got it kind of rough here. You want to avoid playing Alabama and Georgia in the same season. Okay. And Tennessee and Auburn both get that. Texas, um, this sets up pretty rough, but nice for them, right? I don't think that that's too bad. Texas A&M, we always know they're going to underachieve. They get a semi-soft schedule. I think Texas A&M is a big winner because they get that first Texas A&M Texas rivalry game at home, and then Vanderbilt. Well, it's always going to be tough for Vanderbilt moving forward. Okay, so let me know what you guys want to talk about. Once again, this is Power Hour SEC. We'll talk about essentially anything under the sun. I'm actually going to change the title of this. Georgia. Let's see. I promise you, I had a complete change of heart. There you go. Oh, don't let me change the title here. Oh, come on. I could do it right here. A complete change of heart. Couldn't believe it. Now, Tony the Tiger, it's great. Let's go to William here, holding it down. William's my guy. Love that we got South Carolina on the road. I've lived here 14 years and finally get a LSU game right down the road. Well, let's go ahead and schedule me going there. I would love that. Uh, I got a lot of buddies there. In fact, the radio station I've done shows for is around that area. I've always kind of wanted to go there anyway. So let's go ahead and plan that road trip. Let's see. What are some other LSU road games? Unique ones. Yeah, the only unique road game here is South Carolina. We've been there a few times. I remember we went there in 07 and played a one possession game and we won, but it was not a memorable game at all. They had Steven Garcia and it was kind of an ugly game, but we found a way to get it done. Um, and that was in '08, actually. '07, they came to our house. Then we were supposed to go there, but then the hurricane happened in South Carolina. And then you had the Fournette and Geis game, right? They both went off. And Leonard Fournette donated his jersey because he's awesome, and they auctioned it for hurricane relief, which I thought was pretty cool. Um, but yeah, I think I think that South Carolina trip. I think we should do that way. I think it'd be fun, man. Uh, no, I know Haley would love to go. It's going to start saving up for that. I've heard that too, Rick. So I have a buddy who played at LSU by the name of Kirsten Pittman. Okay. I haven't talked to Pity the Kid in a while. He had he had an acting career after his football career ended. And I remember him telling me that Williams Bryce is one of the most memorable experiences he had as a player. One of the nicest fields. One thing I will say about South Carolina fans, okay? One thing I will say is South Carolina fans are so freaking good for a team that has hardly won anything. No national championships in football, I believe. They had those 3-11 win seasons under Spurrier. They had that Steven Garcia game where they beat Alabama. I freaking love that fans are a fan of a team that just don't win a lot. That is the point of fandom, right? Is being a fan of a team that has not done anything. Okay. So, um, you know, the more I look at this, I think Florida catches a minor dub here. I do. Um, you get Georgia in the neutral side, and Kentucky weak. LSU obviously very good, but you're used to playing them there. Ole Miss and Texas A&M. Uh, uh, you know, all these are home games. You're used to playing LSU, right? In Gainesville. I think Florida gets a dub. I do. I do. So there you go. So there are all your teams right there and all their schedules. Um, let me follow this up with this. Okay. There's going to be a lot of discourse over the 9-game conference schedule. Okay. I am going to be interested to see how this first year actually works itself out. I am a big proponent of a 9-game conference schedule. I probably won't back off of that, but I could be swayed if teams follow the lead of, let's say, an LSU or a Florida, right? Where if you play an 8-game conference schedule, if every team is required to play 2 Power 5 non-conference games, I am more for that. I would love that. Okay. Now, could that make that less equitable? Yeah, I could. It's not always easiest scheduling non-conference games, but if we are going to remain an 8-game conference schedule after 2024 and gets into 2025, I would need I would certainly need a situation where LSU, or I'd say LSU, I was the SEC. I would like to see an SEC that has more diversity, right? And I think by diversity, I mean by more non-conference teams. I think it's awesome that UCLA is going to be in Baton Rouge next year. I like these random home and homes scenarios where you get these iconic brands, going to these random stadiums. I like that. I really do. I think it's good for the sport, and it's good to see teams that you never see. Uh, that there's probably some UCLA fans of Baton Rouge. There's different pockets of fans that are all over the country. So, what I'm going to do is now that I've had time to fully process all of these, I'm going to give a grade on each and every one of these 8-game conference schedules. Okay, so Alabama, I think, gets a pretty solid grade. And once again, I'm grading this based on favorability to the teams. I do not see their non-conference slates on here. I don't. Let me see if I can find one with the non-conference slates included. Okay. Uh, let's see. Let's see if I can find one with. Okay, I don't think I could find one with the full. I was trying to find a graphic with all the schedules, but we don't have it. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to give you a grade on each and every one of these. Starting off with Alabama in terms of difficulty, right? Um, and once again, I'm grading these based on favorability for the teams. I think Alabama gets a B. Obviously, this road slate, yeah, you get a road game versus Vanderbilt, but LSU, Oklahoma, Tennessee is pretty tough. And you draw Georgia and Auburn at home. Uh, I, you could make a strong case that Alabama's got the toughest one out of anybody on here. And that's really impressive considering that they are the team that doesn't have to play themselves, right? So even taking them out of the equation because they are them, I think Alabama in terms of favorability they get a C here. This is not a good draw for them. Arkansas gets very lucky. They don't have to play. Um, they don't have to play Georgia. They don't have to play Alabama. That's obviously automatic W's for those teams, right? And I don't think you're going to live to see the day that Arkansas beats either one of those teams with their current coaching staffs. So I think this is a minor victory for Arkansas. And once again, you're still not a top 15 recruiter, but still, obviously it's obviously a situation where things set up pretty nicely for you. Now you go to Auburn, okay? Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt at home, Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, Missouri on the road. Once again, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, feel free to super chat. Um, Auburn gets it rough. This is absolutely positively brutal. You do get a favorable home slate, but overall, outside of the Alabama Georgia situation, where it's kind of baked in that you're going to have to play them every year, I think this is actually more closer to a C than what I initially thought. I at first thought that this was a D, but you do get Vanderbilt, which is a W. Um, so yeah, I think this isn't too bad for Auburn, all things considered. Now, Florida is a big winner. This very well could be an A, right? You don't get Alabama. You know Georgia's going to be on the schedule, and Georgia is the world's largest outdoor cocktail party. Yes, LSU is a tough game, but you get them in Gainesville, and you get Kentucky, Ole Miss, and Texas A&M at home. Ole Miss and Texas A&M in particular haven't necessarily been good road teams under their current regime, and Kentucky is Kentucky. Mississippi State, Tennessee, Texas um, are your only three road games. Now, the thing is, though, you do have Florida State, Miami, and UCF on the schedule, but still, that's it's not here nor there. Georgia, Georgia, when it comes to favorability, they got a pretty tough year, right? This is definitely a C favorability schedule for them. Now, once again, I'm saying favorability in terms of how things could have potentially gone. Um, this home slate is tricky. You only get 3 SEC home games here with the world's largest outdoor cocktail party, so it's a neutral site game. Alabama, Texas, and Ole Miss on the road. That is tough. Really, really, really tough. I don't think Kentucky's going to be any good. I think they're going to be the team that honestly sinks worse than any other team in the SEC with the changes and their current coaching staff. Kentucky, once again, they get breaks all the time from the SEC and nobody talks about it. Very, very favorable schedule here. You get Vanderbilt. Um, you avoid Alabama. You of course get that one really tough home game versus Georgia, but you still get South Carolina. You still get Ole Miss. You still get a Florida team that's rebuilding. Tennessee, Texas. Those are tough road games. So maybe I'm being a little too harsh on Kentucky, but they get a C. I think LSU's a big winner. I really do. Now their non-conference slate is brutal, but I'm gonna give LSU an A here. I think this sets up really nicely for them. They wanted to play Alabama every year, and LSU you get it at home too, and you get Vanderbilt at home. You get Vanderbilt in your schedule, right? Arkansas. LSU for the most part's been fine in Fayetteville. Florida, obviously, is always a brutal road game, always a tricky road game. But South Carolina is not, one of the stronger teams in the SEC, and you get the annual rivalry game at Texas A&M, and that's about what you expected. Ole Miss, Georgia, Kentucky, Mississippi State, Oklahoma, very nice home slate for them outside of the Georgia game. The road situation is really nice as well. You do avoid Alabama. Very nice setup here for Ole Miss. I'm going to give them a B in terms of favorability. So we go to Rick before we get to the bottom half here, and I give my final grades. What's your take on the 8 versus 9 SEC games topic? Give any P5 team a schedule with Bama and UGA every year, like AU and those guys would get it then. Okay, so look, I am for a 9-game conference schedule. Okay, and we'll come back to this in just a second for this reason. All right, we do not have the dates of these games, and what these teams are going to want to do is make sure that final week before rivalry week, okay, that final week before rivalry week, they are going to make sure that week is soft. All right. Now, why do you want to make sure that week is soft? Well, number one, your team is going to be very exhausted at that point in the season. And number two, it's the biggest week of it's the biggest game of the year, the final week of the season. The biggest game of the year. Okay. So a lot of teams in November, that second to last week, right? You want to avoid losses like the plague, right? Because if it's later in the year, losses probably don't hurt as badly in the minds of the College Football Playoff Committee. College football's biggest month is November. Um, so yeah, it's how I feel about this schedule. All right. Now, let's see. We're going to squeeze a guest in. Why not? One of my guys in Bama country. We're going to get on here in just a second. I normally jump on this channel every year. LSU plays Alabama. So there you go. But yeah, Rick, I think that is why I'm so passionate about a 9-game conference schedule. I think so. So there you go. Now, I want to give you an opportunity to get the viewpoint from a Gump. All right, we got to show some love to Gump Nation, baby. The Alabama Crimson Tide, and just to get an outside opinion on pretty much this, Rick, I appreciate your generosity. Is Steven Smith? What's up, man? How are you, buddy?
Carter, what's going on, man?
So Alabama, your reaction to the first 2024 schedule for your Alabama Crimson Tide, man?
I was okay. I was good with it. I was good with it. You got competitive matchups across the board. I mean, you look at the home games. You see, you got Auburn at home. You have Georgia, Missouri, South Carolina. You go LSU on the road, Oklahoma, Tennessee, Vanderbilt. So pulled a pretty good slate there in terms of home and road conference games. I like this.
So let me ask you this. All right. We've talked about this ad nauseum as on the LSU channel, but your thoughts on Alabama's coaching hires on the offensive side of the ball in particular?
I'll say this: getting Tommy Rees was it was a big deal. I know for some people they look at, well, he's not a Garrett Riley, he's not a Jeff Levy, he's not one of those sexy home run splash names that have you run to a TV set. But at the same time, you look at when you have Bryce Young, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, to ever play for your program, going off the NFL draft. Not everybody's going to be a Bryce Young. You lose a lot there. So you have to bring in a coordinator that can mold, coach, teach, and develop the next guy, whether it's a Jalen Milroe, a Ty Simpson, a Tyler Buckner, transfer from Notre Dame, whoever it may be. You got to have a guy in there that can teach and develop. Tommy Rees does those things. He does those things fairly well, very well. And so even with him being young, at 30 years of age or so, he has a lot of that old school swagger, vibe, confidence to him. He's going to want to run a lot of that, double tight end sets, run the football, build off that with play action pass, try to see if he can get wide receivers behind the defense, that type of thing. So I look at the hire of Tommy Rees was a good hire, a strong hire in a sense of this is what Alabama needs right now. Now, of course, if you had another quarterback that had a Bryce Young type of caliber, then I would say, go out there and get one of those big names. But because it's not going to be easy replacing a Bryce Young, you get what you need to get to fit right now. And Tommy Rees suits that.
I think LSU is about to surpass Alabama in the SEC hierarchy.
So what brings that thought there?
Got the dub last year. Brian Kelly is in Nick Saban's head. He's bringing in BK's leftover scraps from Notre Dame. I think the tide is turning, man. Pun intended.
I will say this. Brian Kelly had a good year last year. He did. But the thing with Brian Kelly is you got to win more than once against the man. You got to win more than once against the man. You win one time, You go in the locker room. Yeah, I just love beating Nick Saban. You got to do it more than one time. Love BK, respect him greatly, and I think Jayden Daniels is definitely a Heisman contender. But you got to win more than one time.
Well, let me know, guys, in the chat. Type A for Alabama. Type L for LSU. I will say this. I will say this. Okay. I think this might be the first year, Stephen M. Smith, that the media actually picks LSU to win the West this year. And I think Nick Saban wants that.
I think so. I mean, you can see that happening because of the confidence that Brian Kelly's got going. Once again, you have a Heisman front runner type of guy in Jayden Daniels. You bring back Harold Perkins at linebacker, who put on a show just a season ago as a freshman. So you're wondering what could he do in year two. There's talent there. Absolutely, there's a lot of talent there. And with BK making the statements, we're no longer the hunters, we're the hunted. People are coming after us now. And this will be the last year of SEC divisions with East and West because of 2024. We're going to divisionless football in this country. So I could see when the media convenes onto Nashville for the media days. I guess it's just a situation where that final day they break out their vote tallies and they may try to tally up LSU as the SEC West champion.
Well, so you cover Alabama every day and you do a good job of it. How many, do you think Nick coaches at least 5 more years?
With his health, I think he does. With his health, I think he does. I think what could deter him from those 5 years is if he's not getting the most out of the players that he used to. Right. That would be the deterrent. It would either be that or if his wife, Terry, like, it's time to be with our grandbabies. It's just time. So if Terry Saban makes a comment that I've enjoyed coaching, I've enjoyed this life, it's been fun traveling, I got grandchildren, I want to see these babies grow up, it's time to go home. Now, if Terry makes that comment, I can see Nick kind of shrugging. All right. But if it's not Terry making the comment, the only way I can see Nick going is if it gets to a point where the players are just not vibing with him anymore.
Who's the quarterback for Alabama next year?
Quarterback for Alabama right now, I think Jalen Milroe has the experience. As little as it is, I would like to see what he does fall camp in terms of the passing game aspect. Has he grown even more in that area? But right now, slightly Milroe to the experience. But I look at if Ty Simpson puts on a show here in fall camp, it could very well be him. It's tight.
But so your thoughts on Buckner?
My thoughts on Buckner would be, how quickly does he adjust to the learning curve of the culture? Because he's got 13 games of experience coming from Notre Dame. I even went back to watch the high school tape. The guy is deadly accurate. What gets him in trouble, trying to throw off his back foot. That's what gets him in trouble. But when he steps into the throw, I mean, he's clean with it. The question for him is, you're going to a completely different culture. Can you handle that mentally? Can Tyler Buckner handle that mentally? That's the thing for him.
Let's go. Well, I know you just got done doing all your media stuff. I'm gonna let you get home. What's on the plates tonight in Alabama? What are we eating tonight?
Man, what's on the plates, man? Man, I'm trying to find me a good Chinese spot right now.
Okay.
To get this food in, man. I'm kind of upset because my family folks back home are talking about they didn't cooked up some chicken and had some ribs out there smoking, and I'm like, I can't stand you guys right now.
I love it. Well, Stephen M. Smith, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for squeezing us in your busy schedule, my brother. We'll talk soon.
Absolutely. Carter, you take care, man.
All right, buddy. See ya. That's Stephen M. Smith right there. Rick says he loves the divisionless idea. Let's get to some Arkansas questions. I always show Razorback Nation a ton of love. In fact, I got my PHL hat on. I normally show a little bit more neutrality here and put my Liverpool hat on. So there you go. Uh, Arkansas got two highly rated recruits for next year to commit. That Saban wanted bad out of Mississippi. Uh, let's see here. What's the chats from Razorbacks? Arkansas explodes this next year with Jefferson being coached by Enos now. Okay, very interesting. We actually, Johnny just did a film study on the Arkansas offense yesterday. I've done more Arkansas content than anything else here. So there you go. Miss Terry didn't want to leave Baton Rouge. Wayne Huizinga gave Nick a blank check. Miss Terry doesn't want a frustrated Nick at home every day, which is number one reason he's still coaching. I will say, and I have gotten this confirmed. I've always been told this, that Terry Saban had a bigger role getting Nick to Baton Rouge than people would think, right? Like, I heard Nick ask Terry, "Hey, should we do this? Should we go to Baton Rouge? Should we make this jump?" And uh, she was a huge determining factor, as are often the case wives in any decision. But yeah, Terry Saban deserves a lot of credit for all of Nick Saban's success. Now, to follow up this with Rick, he says he loves the divisionless idea. I do too. And I know that that sounds crazy. You have a 16 team conference and you don't have any divisions, right? Because you don't play everybody and you know you need divisions and all of that. It's part of the reason why I like a 9-game conference schedule as well, because it does set things up a little bit nicer uh for teams to play, every other year. Um, Divisions in sports and conferences in sports in general are silly if you don't need them, right? Now, obviously, in college sports, you need them because there's a gazillion teams, but MLB shouldn't have divisions. NBA shouldn't have divisions. They don't make any sense. Um, they don't serve any purpose. You could play every team once on the road, once at home, like the EPL does. Um, I love the divisionless idea. I do. I think it's better. I do think it'll make it better. Let's go to Dale here. What's up, Dale? He says he's an Auburn fan. Let's talk Auburn. So Dale says he believes Auburn, or he says Vanderbilt got screwed. So Vanderbilt's always just going to be at such a big disadvantage because, well, they're Vanderbilt. This is Vanderbilt's schedule right here to the far right. As you can see, Alabama, South Carolina, Tennessee, Texas at home, and then on the road, Auburn, Kentucky, LSU, Missouri. Yeah, you would have liked to have seen a few of these more favorable away games be at home, right? But having Alabama, Tennessee, and Texas in your building is tough. It's really 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 tough. Like I said earlier, you want your weaker teams. If you're a bottom half team, so if you are Arkansas, South Carolina, if you're not one of the elite recruiters, you want your easier wins to be at home, right? Because it makes things a lot easier for you to win those games, right? A road game, uh, versus let's say a Kentucky, or a road game versus Auburn is kind of like, the equivalent of playing a really good team at home. Um, let's chat Auburn's draw here, and we'll chat some Auburn just in general. I like what Auburn has done as far as building out their coaching staff on the field. Arkansas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Vanderbilt. That's a pretty good home draw. right? And if I'm Auburn, I want to go to Alabama. I want to go to Georgia. Those are games you're likely not going to win anyway. And the Iron Bowl can always get tricky anyway, right? You know that you're going to more than likely travel to these schools. So I think this actually sets up pretty nicely for Auburn. Initially, I thought they got screwed. I need to change the name of this video because I think uh, it's not as bad as because if you're Auburn, you know that you are going to play those schools. You just do. Okay. Now, Dale, thank you so much. I hope you hit the subscribe button. We did a Robbie Ashford video, a Robbie Ashford film study not too long ago. I don't think it's for certain that Peyton Thorne is going to be the guy next year. I am not certain by that at all. So, comment below or give me a question in the chat here before we sign off. I do think a few things set up pretty nicely for LSU. And the more I think about it, the more I think Auburn got it okay because you know you're going to play Alabama, you know you're going to play Georgia. You might as well play them on the road, right? Because it's such a tough game to win at home. Now, if you were competing for a national championship, and let's just say Auburn had a really good team in 2024, and you had a championship level roster, you would, of course, prefer to play Alabama and Georgia at home. It just depends how good your team is, right? If you're like last year Auburn, you want your tougher games to be on the road. If you have Cam Newton and you're that type of talented team, you want your tougher games at home, right? Does Auburn beat 2010 LSU on the road? I don't know. That would have been a really difficult game, right? So yeah, it is interesting that 2010 Auburn got a scare from 2019 LSU, or no, 2010 Auburn got a scare from 2010 LSU at home, and then 2019 LSU got a scare from 2019 Auburn at home. Very interesting stuff. So let me know if you guys enjoyed the Power Hour SEC 7 p.m. Live streams on Wednesdays. We might fiddle. Is that even a word? Fiddle. We might fiddle with the start time for this. So I really appreciate you guys. Obviously, Power Hour SEC, we're trying to grow this thing. I'm experimenting with so many different types of content. But once again, Arkansas fans show me the most love. We'll keep pumping out Arkansas videos. I think Auburn, South Carolina, those two fan bases have shown me a lot of love too. So we'll do more content on them coming up as well. It is Power Hour SEC, baby. Boom. And tonight we are doing stuffed chicken breasts with some feta cheese and bacon. Let's go. And thanks to our top super chatter tonight, Rick. Let's go.